You are the first guest to talk about guess.
The power of this platform is too big.
Maybe that's a profession now. You say you become an artisanal programmer who crafts everything by hand and zero
No,
AI.
no, you'll get a single tool which is powerful enough that understands your business context, that does a decent enough ETL for you.
What is so different about ADM, which compared to, let's say, all the companies?
See, I don't have a magic bullet for this.
Let's also do a podcast. We launched our AI solution, Agentic Data Management, also called ADM,
Right.
in May. Lot of questions around what it is, what does it do, why is it better, why not anything else? So I thought it's a good idea that we do a first episode about ADM, and who better to talk about ADM than our friend and co-founder, Raghu. So that's what we're going to talk about. Okay, so data management has a lot of companies,
Right.
a lot of different offerings, and space is growing. We all know that. So what is so different about ADM, which compared to, let's say, all the companies which have existed over the last 20 years doing data catalogs and MDM and data governance, privacy, DSPAM, ETL companies, and cloud-based data management? What's different about
Right.
ADM?
See, I don't have a magic bullet for this, but I can explain to what is the usual difficulty in this space. Both of us, we have used this slide multiple times, wherein we have a slide which talks about the data landscape, companies doing
The
this.
data landscape, like 1,000 companies over
Data landscape
50
in
categories.
2005, data landscape in 2000,
Uh-huh.
2025, right? So the latest one has 100 tools which are doing storage,
Yeah,
some 100 companies that are doing ETL, some 100 companies that are doing data quality, some 100 companies that are doing data governance. Now,
including us.
including us, right? We are one of the
We are one of
small
the-
dot in that entire
Yeah.
entire daunting picture.
Mhm.
Sometimes it is nice to feel that we are one of them.
Okay.
Then at the same time, see, when if you look at any other space, maybe if you look at a hardware space, if you look at a not the niche ones, okay, the general ones as well, maybe a banking space or maybe an IT, maybe an automation, any other space, right? You will not see such a crowd, or you will not see such huge population of companies trying to solve the same problem. Now, the very fact that most of the companies are funded, most of the companies have customers, most of the companies are really active running businesses, and some of them have been in existence for 10 plus years, shows that the problem statement is super huge, okay, and it is super diverse, that no one solution kind of cuts it for everybody.
Correct.
It's like everybody wants their tech stack the way it suits their company need. So it has various factors, right? What my team is comfortable with, what vendor I'm comfortable with,
Business context.
Sometimes the kind of integrations I might get if I choose one particular tool with my legacy systems, especially. Right? A lot of things goes in this decision making process. So by very nature of that, this entire space is very complex. Not just AI, any and every technology that is available for any good engineer to solve this particular problem is an interesting choice for you to pick and do. Even more with AI. Because see, what does this space kind of signal? I mean, if you leave the storage space and if you look at all the verticals about that particular storage is pretty much a choice, a design choice, if I may say.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
It has no or it doesn't overwhelm you beyond that. No? So now when you see all these different layers coming up, you see that okay, there is a lot of knowledge that is required for you to manage. There is a lot of tech that is required for you to manage. Lot many things can go wrong, and at the core of it is a integration and a knowledge problem.
Correct.
So
you're right.
at the core of it is why I picked certain governance tool, because I had to work with S3 plus HDFS plus maybe a very NetApp thing, or maybe my actual system is somewhere still in mainframes, and super hard for me to get out. Now, what is the obvious choice, right? Okay, I need to find a tool and tech which kind of supports and lends itself into integrating well with that. Now, those are some of the things that AI can really easily solve for you. So using agentic, see, a lot of these things are very prone to errors. So the agentic way of doing it, the orchestrations that you can do, or the way the knowledge is kind of held within the context of the system, and the system being able to take a decision. So there might be a chance, a good chance, hopefully in the future, that okay, you'll get a single tool which is powerful enough,
Mhm.
that understands your business context, that does a decent enough ETL for you, that does a decent enough data quality for you, and that does a good enough data management, governance, security for you.
It's
Now,
it's like your own, you know, some sort of a forward deployed engineer that you get,
yes.
who kind of learns your business and your context,
Yep.
and when asked for some sort of a solution, can in its own reasonable, intelligent way put together a good solution for you.
Correct.
Rather than you trying to buy some, stuff off the shelf and
Right.
trying to put it all together.
Yeah.
Right.
So a lot of this buying happens because you sometimes some of these technologies offer this cross-cutting capabilities, but you tend not to use it because you are either comfortable. Right. That is also one of the aspects. Right. So my team is super comfortable working with this. So we are stuck with one in our organization. Also, we are stuck with one scheduling engine. Right. We know there are many good alternates out there. We don't try because it's a very battle-tested machinery.
It's also hard to migrate.
Hard to migrate. Now, if you look at a lot of these agentic tools, right? Now, at least if you're using some of these code editors, Claude, I mean, it's not super hard for you to migrate today. It's not super hard for you to adapt into new things. So I feel that the entire AI agentic thing, right? If it lends very well into the problem space, it can solve a lot of these problems. Imagine a magical or a hypothetical chat interface. You can ask it to go and say, hey, create an ETL job to do this data. Now, all you need is a infra to run this.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? You say that, okay, hey, do data quality for me. Imagine that, okay, it could create that job and run it. Now, all of us are pretty good at working with the fundamentals or working with the foundational layers of the code. So I think majority of the engineers are good enough or are capable enough to monitor a job progress. So why do you need all these tools? Is because the layering on top becomes complicated.
Yeah.
Right. So why do you need a good UI for the need of a good interface for a job automation or a scheduling thing? Because 5 schedules you can track. What will happen when you have 50,000?
Correct. Yeah.
Right. The concepts of namespace, the concept of how do I segregate and all. Now imagine a world where I don't need. Right. The job runs. I can go to some place and say, hey, did my 10 o'clock load succeed?
Is everything working right?
Is everything working right?
Yeah. And then somebody has to understand that question, figure everything out, give you an answer,
right,
which you can trust.
Which I can trust.
In the end.
And as an engineer, what I would prefer, this is again my personal choice, is okay, if I have an AI engine, we can do this. I would like to work with as less abstractions as possible, without too many layers on top where I need to dig deep. So end of the day, every company, every tool that you get is running a program, is running a piece of software, is running some code to execute that. So why you buy these abstractions is because you need to manage these abstractions. You don't want to go too deep. Now, when code generation is so easy, and when finding out what is right and what is wrong is so easy, when debugging paths become very simpler, then you can easily question that, okay, hey, do I need this abstraction?
Why do I need so many different
tools and abstractions
to go and figure out what is the status of my business data, whatever, right? And I think also there's something to be said about user behavior. I always feel that, once you have, let's say, phone banking, you don't want to go to the branch and talk to a person.
True, no?
So it's the same logic as well, right? If you have now, when you code, you use cursor, and when you have a problem with a skin tag or something, you use ChatGPT, like you said. And you don't really go to Google search and click on 10 links and use your own brain to figure out which one.
Even Google throws an AI answer first now.
And now Google throws an AI answer. And so, when people then come into office and now they're working with data or related fields, would it then make sense to have 5 different tools where you have to go click some 50 different times to go and figure out what is going on? So I feel that, a lot of the thought that we put behind ADM is also in that direction, where it says, okay, you have all these data and you have all this metadata, and we have connected to all of it anyways. Now, why do you need a data catalog? Why do you need the whole form-based business boring application to go ahead and do it? Why don't you just do what you do all the time? Ask a question.
Absolutely. See, to my knowledge of most of these governance platforms, so what does a good governance platform do? It helps you operate at scale the permissions that you need to give to users, so that your PI data kind of is protected. So at the core of the technology, all of us know that okay, if you have a governance tool on a say there are only two governance models, right? So either it's a federated governance model where you go to the tool and the tool will tell you whether you can access the resource or not, or lot many times the actual access is pushed down into the actual platform, and it will set it up. Now the first model is very different. I'll not debate too much. The second model, today it is not super complicated for me to push down those rules, right? So I think my memory of okay, how do I grant permissions to a user is almost lost.
You don't even need to know it.
I don't even need to know, right? I know if I'm using Postgres, I can set permissions. Okay, back in the day, I used to remember the syntax. Now I don't burden myself with that. You just say, hey, exactly, I know what to ask, and tentatively, I know whether the answer is right. Okay, even if you're hallucinating, I know, no, this is not the answer. This is not what I'm looking for. So I know what is the answer. Now imagine if lot of the complexities, see that lot of these tools are kind of reducing the complexities of dealing with the actual stuff, because the actual stuff is either scattered or too complicated, or you don't get a single
too many details to remember.
Too many details to remember. So try giving a strong enough policy for a database with multiple teams and stuff like that. You yourself will figure, maybe I need a tool here.
I need a tool. I need an AI.
Now it is very much easily possible through AI, right? I mean, do I write that query? No. So do I need to give my actual table information? No, right? So what do we take?
But that's an interesting thing, and I feel that a lot of I know that when we were discussing about why, one of the most important factors was the fact that with these technologies, people essentially start operating on a different abstraction level. So earlier, a programmer was like, okay, which pattern should I use? What is the syntax of, what should I do? Which framework should I use? Which library should I use? But now you operate on the, let's say, to a large, and I read somewhere that almost 85% of all programmers are now on Copilot. So in some sense, you are
what
operating.
What are the 15 doing?
I don't know. There are always 15% of people who don't want to, they would say, okay, you should write it by hand. Yeah, it's like artisanal programming. Artisanal programming. And maybe that's a profession now. You say you become an artisanal programmer who crafts everything by hand.
By hand. Hey, use it to generate or write this code and develop this tech.
So if you work at the level of abstractions where you're not thinking about syntax and you're not thinking about particularities of a certain platform and programming language, things like that, then you're thinking about how do I express my requirements better, right? You work in that space of requirements, and we feel that with ADM, even for the data engineering or the data management crowd, you can provide maybe tooling, software, or a model where you don't think about, where is the data, how do I access it, how do I collect all of this information and present it, how do I create it, but you essentially operate on a higher abstraction, where you're thinking, okay, what do I need to get done?
Correct.
Right? What is happening, what is failing, what is not failing, how do I create a policy, what do I do, how do I comply with GDPR, and all of those things. And then it's also presented in a very familiar question answer sort of a pattern, or an agentic workflow sort of a pattern where it makes just more sense to use this. So I feel that is kind of the promise of ADM.
Right. See, the idea of ADM, when we saw or when we conceptualized the idea that okay, we need to do something in this space, I think the realization was fairly quick. That, okay, hey, the power of this platform is too big, or the primitives that you build or the building blocks that you use to build this platform, they can be easily used for other co-located use cases. Okay, that is no big secret. Now the idea is ADM, our first base or our first user base of ADM would be people who are already on ADOC. Because it is, like I said before, it is super hard for you to get into something saying that okay, hey, here is a AI first
brand new way
of doing compliance. I think see, you should be ready for it, but at the same time, it is super hard for you deal with compliance with Fortune. You need to go with your reputations. You need to prove yourself at one place, and maybe you should extend it to other areas. But as a platform, ADM is always built keeping in mind that ADM could be a layer in front of any of these particular technologies to help you do this. See, technically, who do you need today? You need an engineer who can run the bare metal stuff for you. You can't replace him. Somebody has to process the data. Somebody has to look at the log. So maybe we are definitely 30 years away from a matrix kind of a world where things figure out on their own. Till then, let's use the developers' help till the day exists. Now, then who are the next set of users? The business users who actually run the business, right? If I take an example of a bank, you need the guy who is producing software for the bank, and who is the consumer. You'll not replace most of the employees who are sitting in a bank. All these systems in between are created at the service of him.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that somebody who probably could not use the system before because there was a layer of complexity where there are systems where only experts can use.
Correct.
And now with ADM, you essentially also provide the same, let's say, power where somebody would, if they need a report or they need some sort of a, some sort of compliance done, you probably have to find someone and then assign that task, and then they go and do it, and then they report back. Instead, you can just take away the person in the middle. That brings me to another topic, which is, what do you think of like team structures? Right. So a lot of ideas around how big should programming teams be, what should be the structure of a team, right? So if you're in a consulting space, usually have a couple of analysts, then you have some QEs, then you have some engineers. And if you are a product company, then you probably have some sort of a version of some two-pizza rule, right?
Right.
What going forward do you think is a good team structure where theoretically every programmer is, let's say, 10x more productive because you have AI?
Right. Again, the team structure has two angles to that. No? One is the human angle to it, one is the technology angle to that. See, from a human angle, a small team is very lonely. So I think not having one more person to vibe with or to discuss with,
a few more
people, right? And not in tens, but at least a decent sized team, because the idea cycling or the idea discussion debate, the lively debate that keeps you intellectually motivated. So it is not about just coding and producing results, right? There is a human angle to all these engineers who work with us.
Correct.
It's very lonely when you don't have a huge team. So maybe I would still prefer the team structure to be, I think what we internally believe in Acceldata is we don't like the team to grow beyond 8 people. Right? That is the general rule that we follow, that okay, once you have 8, we tend to break it down. We tend to see where it breaks down. Maybe if the productivity gains are there for us to take, I would prefer the team structure to continue to be at 8, and maybe ask the team to look at adjacent areas.
Do more, basically.
Yeah, right. So than breaking it down into 4, because I personally, this is again my personal choice, I would love to have a team around. So it is not about just bumping ideas, right? There are a lot many people. There are some enthusiastic guys in the team there is one guy in the team who is always following some technology. There is one guy in the team who is always interested about a new programming language. So you'll miss these personalities. You'll miss these characters in the team, and that is no fun, man. So you should always have a banter between. We used to have people who used to be a great fan of technology. People fighting what you call programming language wars.
So what you're saying is, if a small team which uses AI heavily and doesn't necessarily invest in more people would be a boring company.
Yep.
To work in.
My opinion.
In some sense.
My opinion, right? So at least an engineering team, no matter how lean you want to run it, see, it'll easily go to 20-30. See, we were reading about, at least I was reading about this Zero, how many engineers they have.
Yeah.
Right. I was reading about Airbnb, how many engineers they had till they reached a certain number. So there is a merit in keeping the team short, right? So there is a merit in keeping the team short, keeping engineering, keeping the tank bar high, and having few intense guys, because it is a fun environment to work that way.
Yeah.
But not a great fan of like 2 people teams, not a great fan of like 3 people teams.
Till we get to a place where there are no engineers required, and
I think
you directly
we'll solve the problem there. But for the next 1-2 years, let's keep the team sizes the same.
Till there are people in in a team, there is some need for
Right.
some sort of a cultural environment
Right.
and a common shared goal, let's say.
Absolutely right. So the cultural environment is also very important.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, the guy is, no matter how talented he's a human.
Yeah.
He would like to interact with fellow humans.
Correct. Yeah. Interesting. So thank you, Raghu, for spending time talking about ADM and programming and other things.
Yeah.
I hope that you had fun talking about AI and ADM on our first inaugural episode. And maybe we do this again sometime. Thank you.
Thank you.